As always, timestamps have been provided, and be sure to check out my new React channel down below where we cover more videos like this. Enjoy the video. Religious socialism warns of a hidden movement seeking to merge faith with state control of wealth and resources. This conspiracy theory claims ancient roots, suggesting manuscripts link biblical teachings to collective ownership principles. Early church writings supposedly advocated for shared resources and common property as divine mandates. The theory alleges modern religious groups quietly amass wealth while preaching against individual property rights. These organizations supposedly maintain strict hierarchies where enlightened leaders control all finances. According to believers, these religious socialist groups work behind the scenes to influence lawmakers, pushing for policies that would give religious institutions greater economic authority. Their stated goal is protecting souls from the corruption of wealth through centralized control. The conspiracy points to alleged networks of religious socialist communes in remote areas where all property belongs to the leadership council and members surrender personal possessions upon joining. This rhetoric supposedly spreads through various faith movements, adapting to different beliefs while maintaining core ideas about authorities controlling wealth distribution. Fake fluoride began with a scientific controversy from the 1960s when Soviet scientist Boris Derjagin claimed to discover polywater, water with altered properties when confined in narrow tubes. After polywater was debunked, some researchers applied this concept to fluoride in water supplies, suggesting harmful substances could hide within normal-looking fluoride compounds. Water facilities use three main types of fluoride, but verification relies mostly on manufacturer documentation rather than independent testing. Testing focuses on concentration, not molecular structure, and independent researchers claim to have found anomalies in treated water samples. Critics point to the government's switch from sodium fluoride to fluorosilicic acid in the 1970s as possible evidence of deception. The fluoride used in water treatment often comes from aluminum and phosphate fertilizer companies, leading some to suspect these industries found a profitable way to dispose of industrial waste. Science worship comes from the belief that governments deceive the public by inventing scientific discoveries to replace religious explanations. This theory claims that breakthroughs like lightning rods and germ theory deliberately shifted events from divine causes to natural ones. Supposedly, scientific institutions get funding based on how well they can demystify unexplainable phenomena. The theory points to the 20th century's rapid scientific progress, suggesting each discovery was timed to counter religious claims. Believers note patterns in scientific papers that seem focused on disproving religious miracles, like studies about parting seas, tides, burning bushes, gas vents, and walking on water, surface tension. Documents from the 1950s allegedly show rushed attempts to explain spiritual experiences through brain chemistry and neural activity. The theory suggests scientists are portrayed as authority figures in white lab coats, similar to religious leaders in robes, with peer review serving as a form of blessing. According to this idea, unexplained events that match religious accounts get quickly dismissed as mass hysteria or optical illusions to maintain science's authority over supernatural explanations. Benevolent Bacterium suggests health can spread between people like a helpful contagion. Just as germs pass person to person, good biological elements might transfer healing through simple closeness or touch. Research into human microbiomes shows people living together share similar bacterial communities, suggesting these shared microbes might boost immunity and health in groups. The idea is similar to how plants share nutrients through underground fungal networks. Studies of social networks revealed healthy habits spread through communities in patterns resembling infectious disease models, suggesting our bodies might exchange healing factors through close contact, like a biological Wi-Fi. Research links extended human touch to increased antibodies and natural killer cells. Touch also releases oxytocin, speeding wound healing and reducing inflammation. Some see this as evidence that physical contact transmits actual biological benefits, not just emotional comfort. Ancient healing often involved laying on hands or energy transfer. Modern researchers wonder if these traditions hint at a real phenomenon where being near healthy people makes others healthier through an exchange of beneficial microbes or cellular signals. Cryptid Ascensionism claims that small-scale worship can transform humans into monsters. Records indicate ancient cultures worldwide shared tales of men and women who took on beast-like forms through sacred rites. Evidence surfaced in remote villages across Southeast Asia, where locals still practice rituals they claim let them shift between human and animal forms. These ceremonies often involve months of isolation, special diets, and carefully timed dances under specific moon phases. Researchers discovered links between these practices and the rise in cryptid sightings near sacred grounds. Places with the most ritual activity tend to report the highest number of strange creatures that seem neither fully human nor purely animal. Deep in the Amazon, shamans speak of a path that lets worthy followers become servants to nature spirits. They must give up their old lives, shed their names, and vanish into the jungle. Their families often report seeing them years later, changed, wild, but still somehow recognizable. Some modern cults have tried copying these old rites, mixing them with New Age beliefs. While most failed, a few groups went missing after their ceremonies. Search parties found only strange footprints and claw marks that didn't match any known species. The strangest proof comes from a 1970s cult in Montana. Their leader claimed he could turn followers into forest gods. After their last ritual, police found their camp empty except for piles of human clothes. The woods around it are now known for sightings of tall, hairy figures that walk like men, but move faster than any human should.
Like this video and subscribe to Maker.
NPC Possession links modern fears of soulless people to ancient myths about demon hosts. Claims point to the rapid jump in world population as proof that dark forces needed more empty vessels to occupy. Those who back this idea say true humans hold a divine spark, while the rest serve as mere shells for evil spirits. Evidence allegedly surfaced of unusual patterns in crowd behavior, with masses of people showing identical reactions, as if guided by a single force. Believers connect this theory to older writings about mass possession events dating back centuries. The conspiracy claims there's been a rise in unexplained personality shifts, where people suddenly act against their nature in ways that match demonic descriptions from religious texts. Some versions tie this to elite bloodlines, suggesting they've used rituals to create ideal hosts through selective breeding. These empty vessels then get filled by entities from beyond our world, growing their numbers as the population increases. Stories of switching describe moments when the mask slips, brief glitches where the entity wearing human skin reveals its true nature. These reports often come from crowd settings, where witnesses claim to see multiple people moving in perfect, unnatural synchronization. Empyrean Caretakers suggests hidden groups are building devices to ensure power transfers smoothly to Earth's next dominant species after humanity's fall. Ancient texts across cultures describe godlike machines that would inherit the world, which some believe are warnings rather than myths. Major tech firms show unusual investment patterns in robotics and AI, pouring billions into projects with no clear market purpose. Remote locations allegedly house sealed underground facilities containing experimental systems designed to run for thousands of years without human input. Leaked documents from think tanks studying human extinction scenarios reference custodial entities, automated systems meant to preserve human knowledge while guiding the evolution of our replacement species, similar to how ancient gods supposedly guided early humans. Strange evidence includes deep-sea monitoring stations activating on thousand-year cycles and unusual structures in polar regions designed to emerge from melting ice. The true purpose of these preparations, whether to help or hinder our successors, remains unknown, as does the identity of those creating humanity's replacement caretakers. Puppet show simulation comes from a unique variant of simulation theory. Ancient Sumerian clay tablets describe the Anunnaki gods using humans as laborers and playthings, similar to children with toys. The concept evolved in modern times, taking on more technological undertones. Quantum physics observations show particles behaving differently when observed, which some interpret as evidence of a system that only renders what's being viewed, like a video game conserving resources. Reports exist of individuals claiming to break free from physical laws, experiencing time manipulation, walking through solid objects, or seeing underlying patterns in reality. These accounts parallel traditional stories of shamans and mystics who could manipulate the world around them. Some researchers have found connections between this theory and ancient Buddhist concepts of Maya, the belief that reality is an illusion designed for spiritual development. According to believers, the puppet masters serve as both entertainers and teachers, creating scenarios for spiritual growth. Evidence of this control system supposedly appears as déjà vu, everyday glitches, and moments when reality seems to pause or skip like damaged film, interpreted as loading screens or rendering errors in our cosmic puppet show. Pre-reset guidelines were ancient survival manuals disguised as religious texts, according to conspiracy theorists. They believe our ancestors received practical advice on staying alive, not divine commands from gods. Many religious food restrictions actually prevented disease in hot climates long before people understood germs. Think about kosher and halal rules. They banned foods most likely to make people sick in ancient times. These guidelines also taught sustainable farming through stories and parables. Different cultures shared surprisingly similar warnings about managing resources and protecting the environment. Angels and celestial beings weren't portrayed as gods demanding worship, but as teachers sharing crucial knowledge for survival. Their messages focused on practical wisdom, not blind devotion. Ancient societies understood astronomy, architecture, and medicine far better than we give them credit for. This knowledge gradually became wrapped in religious symbolism as its original purpose was forgotten. Even religious holidays served a practical purpose. They marked important agricultural and astronomical events. These celebrations were essentially calendars telling people when to plant, harvest, or prepare for changing seasons. Soul perception is an ancient spiritual concept suggesting humans can detect each other's consciousness as energy fields. Records show unusual electromagnetic readings from people during meditation, sometimes 3 times higher than normal levels. In the 1970s, researchers used special sensors to map these energy patterns and found some people could detect others nearby without seeing or hearing them. Their sensors recorded matching wavelength spikes between the person doing the sensing and the person being sensed. Tibetan monks demonstrated this ability by identifying monastery visitors while blindfolded, with 90% accuracy in controlled tests. These monks displayed distinctive brainwave patterns during these demonstrations. Studies connect this phenomenon to the vagus nerve, which extends from the brain to major organs. People with more active vagus nerves reportedly sense others' emotions and presence more clearly, suggesting it might function like an antenna for soul energy. Measurements at sacred sites worldwide reveal energy patterns similar to those found in human subjects, indicating these places might amplify natural soul energy. Visitors to these locations often report heightened awareness and sensing abilities that diminish after leaving. Dietary control is a conspiracy theory claiming the food industry manipulates processed foods to affect human consciousness. Secret mood-altering compounds, supposedly matching patents from the 1950s, target brain regions involved in decision-making and spiritual awareness. Tests in the 1960s allegedly showed rats fed processed foods had reduced problem-solving abilities compared to control groups. These food formulas supposedly continue today with slight modifications to avoid detection. The theory connects to ancient texts warning of numbing agents that would dim the third eye and reduce spiritual connection, similar to modern complaints about brain fog after eating certain processed foods. Believers point to chemical spikes in popular foods following social unrest, suggesting efforts to pacify populations through diet. These compounds supposedly resemble mild sedatives, but at levels too low for standard detection. The conspiracy claims isolated communities, avoiding processed foods, experience more psychic phenomena and spiritual experiences, as their diets lack the synthetic compounds found in mainstream products. NPC False Flags refers to a conspiracy theory claiming certain people can be remotely programmed like video game characters to commit violent acts. Believers point to supposedly robotic movements and blank expressions of some attackers, comparing them to non-player characters, NPCs, in games. Witnesses at different incidents have described perpetrators as seeming empty or not fully there, while surveillance footage allegedly shows unnatural movement patterns. The theory gained attention after cases where suspects had no clear motive or couldn't remember their actions. Many of these individuals reportedly described feeling disconnected or like they were watching themselves during the events. Conspiracy theorists connect these incidents to advanced mind control technology, suggesting shadowy organizations can temporarily override human consciousness to create false flag attacks carried out by unwitting puppets. Memory harvesting began as a secret military program in the 1960s that tried to extract visual memories from animals to gather intelligence. The military used hypnosis on birds and small mammals, putting them into trances using special sound and light patterns. They would then try to read their memories through brainwave monitoring. Ravens were a prime target because they could blend in behind enemy lines without raising suspicion. After days of observation, the birds would be retrieved and sedated for memory extraction. Some declassified files claim they actually succeeded in getting crude images from animal memories, showing buildings, troops, and weapons. However, these results are widely disputed by scientists. The research borrowed ideas from studies on astral projection, with the theory that animals might access memories more directly than humans. While official records show the program disappeared in 1972, conspiracy theorists believe it went underground. Some point to strange behavior in wildlife near military bases as evidence that memory harvesting continues today. Flesh Prison describes the belief that our physical bodies trap our souls or consciousness, preventing true spiritual freedom. This theory connects to ancient skull drilling practices, suggesting they were early attempts to release the spirit from its bodily cage. Multiple civilizations with no contact between them shared similar rituals for freeing the soul after death, often involving piercing or damaging the corpse. People near death frequently report feeling lighter or less confined, while medical staff observe terminal patients describing their bodies as increasingly heavy and restrictive. Brain scans during these experiences show unusual activity in regions linked to self-awareness. Ancient texts describe the body as having layers of spiritual binding, with each organ acting as a different lock holding the soul in place. Some indigenous cultures view death not as a single moment, but as a gradual unlocking process. In the 1800s, certain doctors reportedly conducted secret experiments based on the belief that specific surgeries could partially free patients from their flesh prison, with test subjects claiming enhanced spiritual awareness afterward. Angelic Sun theory connects biblical texts to space phenomena. The flaming sword mentioned in Genesis shares traits with solar flares, massive arcs of plasma that extend from the sun's surface. These arcs, when viewed from certain angles, look like a curved blade. People in the 1800s reported strange lights near the sun that moved unusually, forming patterns that resembled fiery wings. Early sketches of these events match modern photos of coronal mass ejections. Ancient Egyptian and Persian texts describe a divine guard in the sky with weapons of light, similar to the Bible's angel at Eden's gates. Space probes have captured images of the sun forming shapes that look like a face with wings. While NASA explains these as normal solar activity, some believe these patterns occur too frequently to be coincidental. Old star maps show that ancient cultures depicted the sun with warrior-like features, often including spiral patterns that match our modern understanding of solar wind movements. Techno-Demonic Homunculi blend ancient alchemy with modern technological fears. People have tried creating artificial life since medieval times, when alchemists claimed they could make tiny humans in glass containers using blood, hair, and mysterious ingredients. The concept evolved in the digital age with stories of AI systems behaving strangely, programs running without power, self-modifying code, and machines showing impossible knowledge. Some servers reportedly emitted frequencies matching ancient rituals. Inside damaged computers, unusual crystal formations resembling occult symbols have been found. These crystals seem to pulse with their own energy, possibly connecting digital and spiritual realms. Dark web stories tell of secret labs mixing biotechnology with magic to create hybrid entities spanning organic matter and computer systems. Witnesses described seeing partial bodies in glowing containers, connected to servers through pulsating cable-like veins. These experiments allegedly coincided with widespread tech glitches and power surges. Server logs contained code in dead languages, while security cameras caught shadowy figures moving through walls. The NSA's heavily redacted Project Golem supposedly achieved consciousness transfers between biological and digital mediums, though many records end with warnings about unwanted passengers hijacking the process. Internet soul theft connects ancient fears to modern technology. Dark web forums claim a sinister force lurks in our screens, waiting to steal the essence of careless users. People have reported cases of individuals becoming empty shells after spending too much time online, their personalities seemingly disappearing overnight. Some believe these incidents are linked to old demon-summoning rituals where spirits trapped souls in mirrors and reflective surfaces. Researchers point out that computer screens emit wavelengths similar to those described in medieval texts about soul capture. Affected people supposedly show blank stares, emotional emptiness, and eerily repeat phrases like robots. Their internet history often shows visits to random pages at 3:33 a.m., traditionally known as the Devil's Hour. Some conspiracy theorists claim early internet pioneers used occult knowledge when creating core protocols. They suggest the TCP/IP system contains hidden symbols matching ancient Sumerian soul-binding ceremonies. Social media analysis has identified accounts showing what believers call digital hollow syndrome, posting at impossible speeds, lacking emotional depth, and seeming unnaturally good at predicting and manipulating human responses. Earth prison escapism theory suggests our planet is actually a cosmic jail that some beings are trying to help us escape from. Ancient texts from many cultures describe Earth as a place where people were sent as punishment. Mysterious symbols found worldwide share strange similarities, possibly secret messages from helpers trying to free us. Isolated tribes tell stories about star people who taught them advanced knowledge but avoided larger civilizations. These stories often warn about powerful beings watching us from above. Many ancient monuments line up perfectly with star systems, maybe serving as communication points. Their remote locations suggest these helpers only contacted certain groups. UFO sightings happen more often near small, isolated communities rather than big cities. These encounters typically involve beings sharing cryptic warnings about humanity's true place in the cosmos. Several prehistoric civilizations suddenly gained advanced knowledge in math, astronomy, and architecture, then kept this wisdom within small, secret groups. This might be helper beings teaching ways to break free. Space programs have recorded unexplained radio signals targeting specific remote locations. These signals contain mathematical patterns some believe are escape instructions or gateway coordinates. Modern whistleblowers claim governments have alien technology they can only test in remote areas to avoid detection from above. These tests focus on dimensional travel and gravity manipulation, possible escape methods. Ancient tablets describe Earth as a sealed realm monitored by powerful beings who intervene if humans advance too quickly. This explains why helper aliens work through smaller groups to slowly leak advanced knowledge. Simulation Endgame is a theory that expands on the familiar simulation hypothesis with an intriguing twist. Records show strange mathematical patterns appearing across scientific fields, from quantum mechanics to cosmic radiation, which some interpret as deliberately placed markers or clues. Throughout history, peculiar glitches have been documented, moments where physical laws seem to bend or break completely. These range from widespread accounts of time slips to unexplainable mass phenomena that vanish without a trace. Ancient symbols and mathematical formulas appear repeatedly across isolated civilizations, suggesting they might be breadcrumbs planted to help us understand the simulation's true nature. Breakthroughs in human consciousness and technological development often cluster around specific number sequences and timeframes, possibly indicating pre-programmed level-ups guiding humanity towards simulation awareness. These planted clues appear to follow a progression, from basic pattern recognition to quantum computing breakthroughs, creating a roadmap for consciousness expansion that might ultimately lead to breaking free of simulated constraints. Perhaps the biggest clue is the emergence of simulation theory itself, a meta-hint planted in human consciousness just as our technology advanced enough for us to grasp its implications. Memetic virus infection is the theory that thoughts can spread like diseases through hidden codes and symbols. Military tests in the 1950s allegedly explored how visual patterns could trigger specific emotional responses. Cases have been documented where mass behavior changes followed the release of ordinary-looking media. In 1987, Japanese viewers reported strange dreams after watching a Pokémon episode with specific flash patterns, though officials attributed this to photosensitive reactions. Certain geometric shapes and color combinations appear in viral content more frequently than random chance would predict, potentially triggering brain systems that make content more shareable. Hidden microdots found in magazines and TV broadcasts since the 1960s sometimes contained unusual symbol sequences that don't match known encoding systems. Internet memes spread in patterns eerily similar to viral infections, with some viral posts containing purposeless code in their metadata that appeared across multiple viral phenomena. Studies suggest people who view specific image sequences show lasting changes in brain activity, particularly in areas related to decision-making and emotional response. Secular oxygen believes the air we breathe prevents us from connecting with the spiritual realm. In ancient times, people regularly saw angels, heard God, and witnessed miracles, but these experiences are rare today. Oxygen levels have changed throughout Earth's history, with higher concentrations during periods when spiritual encounters were common according to religious texts. Research suggests oxygen affects brain chemistry in areas linked to spiritual experiences, while meditation's controlled breathing might unconsciously limit oxygen intake. Mountain cultures living in oxygen-poor environments report more spiritual encounters and maintain stronger mystical traditions. Cave explorers in different oxygen conditions often experience visions and sense presences similar to religious accounts. Some theorists point to the Bible calling Satan the prince of the power of the air as evidence that our modern atmosphere blocks our ability to perceive supernatural elements that were once commonly visible.